そして、それを自覚した頃にはもう、君しかいないと思っていた。
Pantry. As you're about to finish work, Celestine suddenly announced a team building trip to Chesenia Hot Springs Mount at the end of the month. All of a sudden, the office, which has been quiet until now, erupts into endless cheers.
シセニア温泉郷って確かナンバーワン温泉リゾート地に選ばれたところですよね。ハイシーズンは予約が取れなくて料金も割高になるとか。財前さんは本当に気前がいいですね。こんな上司を持って私は幸せです。
Kiki nudges your arm as she speaks.
それにしてもついさっき温泉地でゆっくりしたいねって話したばかりなのに、まさかこんなに早く願いが叶うとは思いませんでしたね。
There was a film set in a hot spring villa that was very popular some time ago. After watching it, you and Artem were also inspired to visit some hot springs. Alright, don't get too worked up, or else you might have trouble falling asleep.
こんなに前から夜更かしなんてしませんよ。それより最近ずっと左京さんの姿を見かけませんけど、そんなに忙しくて一緒に行けるんですかね。
Upon hearing Kiki's words, you can't help but turn your gaze to Artem's office, the door to which is tightly shut. Lately, Artem has indeed been quite busy. He's frequently out on fieldwork, and sometimes he even gets up in the middle of the night to answer calls. Your residence.
相手が出廷できるのは確かなんですね。
Even though Artem deliberately keeps his voice low, you can still hear it coming from a corner of the bedroom while you're half asleep.
よかった。彼の証言があれば、判決が覆る可能性も高いでしょう。ところで、アンディさんからの返事はまだありませんか？
Testimony. Andy, turn the keys around. You hear one word after another. You sit up in a daze, noticing that Artem is calling someone in front of the French window.
ええ、わかりました。彼のことは、私が直接説得してみましょう。おそらく、月末までには出発しますので、そこで証人に会ってきます。わかりました。では、その時にお会いしましょう。お疲れ様です。
Artem hangs up and meets your eyes the moment he turns around.
起こしてしまったか。
You shake your head. As he walks over to the side of the bed and sits down, the mattress sinks a little, and you take the opportunity to fall into his arms. His body feels somewhat cool from the night, but soon enough it's warm again from your and his body heat. Is it a kiss?
ああ。まだ早いから、もう少し寝ていなさい。
What about you?
私は書斎に行って資料を整理してくる。今日は早めに出るから、出勤も別々になるな。
Do you need my help?
大丈夫だ。
Artem gently pushes you on the shoulder, guiding you to lie back under the blanket. He even tucks you in tighter as if worried.
おやすみ。
Don't exhaust yourself. You quietly hook his fingers with yours, and he returns the gesture with a smile.
ああ、わかっている。
Pantry. Since that night, Artem has been leaving early and returning home late every day, and you never had a chance to ask him about that call. From what you remember, there's no client named Andy in the recent cases of the firm, and judging from how Artem mentioned turning the case around, this should be an old case.
ぼんやりしてどうしたんですか？
It's nothing. Since we're going out for team building at the end of this month, do you think you can finish your work before then?
痛いところをついてきますね。今日も残業確定ですよ。
Kiki returns to her desk in a hurry, and you turn off your computer after finishing today's work, planning to go home. I wonder if Artem's going to come home earlier today. Your residence. As soon as you come home, you find Artem's shoes in front of the door, and the door to the study is open. Artem? There's no reply. You enter the study and find Artem leaning back on the armchair. He looks asleep. You pick up the blanket and approach quietly, planning to put it on Artem without him noticing, but he catches your wrist.
ああ、帰ったのか。
Yeah, you should go to bed if you're tired. It's also more comfortable that way.
大丈夫だ。思わぬタイミングで案件に進展があって、少し肩の力が抜けただけで。
So things are going well with Andy, I presume?
どうしてそれを？
I heard a little bit of what you were talking about when you got up to answer that call in the middle of the night. Artem pauses, seemingly recalling what you are referring to. Then he walks over to the desk and pulls out a case file. The date on the file is 5 years ago, and the location is a small city abroad called Pinaya. In fact, Chesania, the town you're going to visit for the team building, is a part of that city.
話すと長くなるが、聞きたいか？
Of course, I'm all ears. You lean against the desk naturally, brushing his still tired eyes with your hand.
5年前、私は出張でピアナに行き、仕事が終わってから現地の法律事務所にいるアーロンという友人を訪ねた。すると、ちょうど依頼に来ていたメアリーというご婦人に出会い、強盗傷害で起訴されたアンディという息子の話を聞いたんだ。
Robbery and assault?
ああ。この件の被害者は視覚に障害があり、犯人を特定できなかったらしい。そして2日間の調査の末、警察は現場にアンディさんと似た人物がいたことを突き止め、他に証拠が一切なかった当初、アンディを第一容疑者に指定した。
Did your friend accept this case? Artem shakes his head and he pulls out the files on Andy's case from the folder.
彼は当時の状況がアンディさんに不利だと考え、自発的に罪を認めて減刑を勝ち取ることを提案したんだ。
But the police only mentioned someone resembling Andy. Sounds like they didn't have any concrete evidence.
メアリー夫人もそのように考えていて、彼の無実を固く信じていたよ。
Hearing Artem say that, a thought flashes across your mind. So, you took on the case yourself?
ああ。メアリーさんに詳しい状況を聞いた後、引き受けることにした。
You recall how Artem mentioned turning the case around on the phone. Did he lose that case back then? What happened after that?
私が引き受けてからわずか3日後、メアリーさんは依頼を取り消し、アンディさんもまた罪を認め、最終的に懲役8年の判決を受けることになった。
That feels a little... Instead of replying at once, Artem takes out the evidence he gathered back then from the file folder. Your residence. Flipping through the thick files, you feel as though you've traveled back in time, witnessing how Artem hunted for the truth several years ago. It had only been 3 days since he accepted the case, but he had already gathered a stack of firm evidence, including testimonies from various parties involved and surveillance footage. In fact, there were many uncertainties in the case. For example, the eyewitness didn't get a good look at the criminal's face. They only presumed it must be Andy based on the clues and build alone. Nor was there any surveillance footage showing that Andy had appeared at the crime scene. The only piece of evidence that was hard to explain was a key that Andy had lost a while ago, which was found in a tuft of grass at the scene. With the evidence you had gathered, you already had a chance to win the case at trial.
ああ、アンディさんも最初は容疑を否認し、当日は一人で釣りをしていたと言っていたからな。ただ、残念ながらその付近に防犯カメラはなく、人手もまばらで、目撃者は見つからなかった。ペアナでは、裁判で戦った末に敗訴となった場合、より重い刑罰を受けることになるんだ。
So, he chose to plead guilty to avoid the risk of losing the case? You never imagined that in the current age, there would still be people admitting to crimes they didn't commit for this very reason. Except... Artem seems to read your mind. He pulls out the copy of a news report on the case. After Randy was brought into custody, the public was all riled up about the case. They kept saying that the perpetrator must be subjected to the most severe punishment. Even Andy's mother, Mrs. Marriott, was constantly harassed to the point that it severely interfered with her everyday life.
アンディさんは幼い頃に父親を亡くし、母親と二人きりで暮らしていた。もしかしたらその当時、母親のためにも罪を認めるべきだと何者かに吹き込まれていたのかもしれない。
So, Andy only pled guilty so Mrs. Marriott could live in peace?
断言はできないが、最終的に罪を認めてしまった理由には少なからず含まれていると思っている。判決が下った後、アンディさんは結局控訴をせず、仕事が終わった私はステラ市へ戻るしかなかった。
But you've been following up on the case the whole time, even though the client revoked your authorization 5 years ago.
名目上はキャンセルになっているが、私の中ではまだ終わってないんだ。だから、アーロンさんに個人的に連絡を入れ、目を光らせてもらっていた。もしアンディさんが有罪ならそれまでだが、彼が無実である限り、私がすべきことは決まっている。
Although Artem's voice is calm, you can still sense his firm belief in truth and justice. I suppose you found an opportunity to turn things around. What is it? Artem nods with a smile, a tinge of relief showing in his eyes.
5年前の事件当時、アンディさんが現場にいなかったことを示す証拠を、アーロンさんが別件で見つけてくれたんだ。偶然、2人の観光客の写真に彼が写り込んでいたらしい。これで、事件当時に彼が釣りをしていたことを証明できる。
Great! Then Andy could be released from prison. Contrary to your cheerfulness, Artem doesn't seem as optimistic.
この事実を知った後、アーロンさんに彼と面会するようお願いしたんだが、当の本人がそれを拒否したらしい。
But why?
私も分かっていない。
So, are you planning to go persuade him yourself?
ああ。ただそうなると、私はしばらくペアナに滞在することになる。そして、滞在中も仕事をうまく回すために、しばらくは忙しくなるだろう。
I can help you. You blurt out without thinking, but instead of accepting your offer at once, Artem changes to an easier topic.
いや、大丈夫だ。それに、月末は社員旅行があるんだろ？この件で君の休暇を奪うわけにはいかない。
Oh, but you haven't been at the firm lately. How do you know we're going to Chesenia? Maybe it's because Artem always acts as though he doesn't care about the administrative details at the firm. You took it for granted that he wouldn't be aware of all these things.
私はテミスのパートナー弁護士だ。そういうことは事前にメールで送られてくるからもちろん知っているさ。だが、私には他に優先すべきことがある。すまないが、君と一緒には行けないな。
It doesn't matter. I'm more interested in helping you with the kids than going on a team building trip. I don't think I've ever come across any cases like this since I became a lawyer. It will be a good opportunity for me to get some experience. Besides, this case has been on your mind for 5 years, Mr. Wings. It certainly piques my interest. Hearing your perfect excuses, Artem only shakes his head.
では、君は温泉に行かないと。前から楽しみにしていたんだろ
How did you? About a month ago, you started thinking about visiting a hot spring after watching a movie about it. So, you mentioned it to Artem during a casual conversation. Your residence. I found out that there are numerous benefits to soaking in a hot spring. It's great for the skin, relieves fatigue, and improves sleep. They say it's especially recommended for lawyers like us who work under high pressure all year round. You sit on the edge of your bed, basking in sunlight, reading about the benefits of hot springs on your tablet.
それなら、時間を作って温泉に行こうか。ちょうどいい温泉地も知っているしな。
You would love to go, but then there's the work schedule. You hold onto your tablet, reluctant to give up on the thought, and lie back on the bed, letting out a long sigh. But there's a lot to do this year. I don't know if I'll be able to take the time off. Never mind, I best forget about it. At least I won't be disappointed that way. Artem takes away your tablet and leans in, propping his arms on either side of you.
いや、楽しみにしているといい。いずれ別の形で実現するかもしれないからな。
Your residence. You didn't realize until now what Artem meant by those words. Was it your idea to visit the hot springs in Chesania for our team building trip?
私はただ意見を聞かれて答えただけで、企画したのは財前だ。
You grab Artem's hand, your mind wandering to another seemingly unrelated topic. Has he been constantly hoping for a turn for the better in Andy's case over the last 5 years? The hot springs can wait. After all, what I'm really looking forward to is enjoying them with you by my side.
わかった。ではこの件が片付いたら一緒に行くとしよう。
Afterward, you and Artem report the situation to Celestine, who's completely supportive of your work. Artem has flown directly abroad to communicate with the witnesses in advance and obtain the original photo. He wants to make sure all is ready before meeting Andy, so that everything can proceed according to the plan. But this way, he will be coming to Pinaya 2 days after your arrival, so you two have agreed that you'll pick him up at the airport. Airport. On the day Artem arrives in Pinaya, you go to the airport to pick him up, only to find the place swarming with tourists on their way to Chesenia. You estimate his landing time, all the while thinking about how Celestine and the others must be enjoying the hot springs. There are so many people here, maybe I should call him first. Just as you're about to dial his number, Artem calls you.
もしもし、私だ。
Did you just get off the plane?
君を待たせていないかと思ってな。
Penaya isn't a particularly large city, so the airport is somewhat small. In addition, you are standing at a relatively high vantage point, so you manage to spot Artem in the crowd at a single glance. He seems to be checking the GPS on his phone while talking to you. You come down the stairs, walking slowly to him step by step. Artem, dressed in casual attire and pulling a suitcase, looks no different from the tourists around him.
ペアナも随分と変わったな。わずか5年で新しい空港ができるとは。前にも来たことがあるが、まるで初めてのような気分だ。
Artem remarks casually, but you understand that his primary concern lies with the case from 5 years ago. Times change. 5 years might not be long in the span of a lifetime, but it's surely long enough for Artem, who's bent on discovering the truth and seeking justice. I believe some things will never change. You fix your gaze on him. Despite the arduous journey, he doesn't appear tired at all. Seemingly to sense you approaching, Artem looks up in your direction. The surprise in his eyes is instantly replaced with a smile. He lifts his hand and waves his phone at you as his voice comes through, carried by electrical currents.
確かに、ここの風景は変わらないな。5年前と同じで美しく、機内の食事も同じで、少し焼き加減が物足りなかった。
He presumes you're only talking about daily trifles, so he replies lightheartedly, focusing on what he thinks is the same topic. Apart from all of that, I think there's one more thing that has remained unchanged. You repeat your thoughts. The sunlight at noon pierces through the glass walls, making the departure hall appear bright and spacious. The distance between you and Artem shortens bit by bit. Finally, Artem's voice can be heard from right next to you.
教えてくれ。何が変わらないんだ？
Your original intention. The two of you are now standing in front of each other. Artem hangs up. He's right in front of you. His eyes are gleaming like the tip of a snow-capped mountain illuminated by the sunlight, both sharp and gentle. Maybe this is how a person looks when they have faith, radiant. No matter how many times you see Artem like this, you're always deeply touched by him. Have you got all the evidence?
ああ。出廷の手順についても証人と話してきた。あとは、アンディさんが申し立てさえすれば、判決が覆る可能性は8割。いや、9割は固いだろうな。
Artem says, sounding unusually passionate and vigorous. As the most talented lawyer in Stalis, people say many things about Artem, like that he is professional, prudent, he has an incredibly high winning rate. He's a reliable partner and an honorable mentor, but it's easy to overlook his passion as a lawyer. What if Andy refuses? Artem pauses for a second, his finger tapping lightly on the handle of his suitcase. It seems he hasn't carefully considered this possibility. But after a brief moment, a confident smile appears on his face.
当初は私が信頼を得られなかったせいで、彼は無罪を主張することを諦めるしかなかった。だが、今回は私もそう簡単には引かない。
Artem just mentioned a detail that he hadn't spoken of before, giving you a glimpse into more of his past. You take a step forward and grab his wrist, walking by his side. Alright, I have faith in you.
当時のアンディさんの選択は理解できる。彼にとっては見通せない未来を歩むより、決められた刑に耐える方が楽だったんだろう。だが、今は5年前とは違う。アンディさんの無実を証明し、 彼の無念を必ず晴らしてみせる。
Artem says enthusiastically. He must have been just like that 5 years ago. Then should we go see Andy tomorrow?
あ、そうしよ
Hotel lobby. Early the next day, Artem's friend Aaron is waiting for you two in the hotel lobby to set off together. He looks much older than Artem and has a way of cutting to the chase.
左京君、この方が前に言っていた弁護士さんかな。はじめまして、アーロンと申します。
Hi, Aaron. After a polite handshake with you, Aaron dives straight into the case.
状況は二人ともご存知でしょうから、今の進捗だけ簡単にお話しします。
う。お願いします。
週間後、アンディさんの服役態度は良好で、メアリーさんも毎週面会に行ってました。ですが半年ほど前、メアリーさんは胃がんと診断され、長期の治療が必要になり、一人での生活が難しいということもあって、彼女は療養所に入ることになりました。
では、アンディさんとは長いこと面会していないのですか？
私の知る限りではそうだね。だからか、アンディさんは最近、よく仮釈放の申請を出しているよ。
He wants to leave prison as soon as possible so he can spend time with Mistress Marriott.
そうです。なので、仮釈放に影響が出るようなことは望んでいないかと。
The three of you fall into a momentary silence. Aaron, seeming to sense the tension, is about to offer some comforting words when Artem speaks out first.
彼を説得する方法を考えます。
わかったよ。あなたがそのつもりなら、一緒に彼に会いに行こう。
Meeting room. After completing the formalities, the three of you are shown into what appears to be a meeting room. Shortly after, Andy is brought in. The moment Andy sees Artem, a mix of surprise and shame flashes across his face. To save time, Artem cuts to the chase after briefly introducing you.
アンティさん、私がここへ来た理由は、もうお分かりでしょ？
はい。アーロン先生から聞きました。僕の無罪を証明できる新たな証拠を見つけたと。でも、僕には必要ありません。残りの刑期を静かに過ごし、その後で母に付き添えればそれで。
メアリーさんは？
母にはもうあまり時間がなく、医者からもこれ以上刺激を与えてはいけないと言われているので、すみません。
Andy appears agitated at the mention of Mistress Marriott. You can see that he cares a lot about his mother. But Andy, if the appeal is successful, you might be able to leave jail and be with your mother much sooner.
それはあくまで理想の話ですよね。この件が必ず成功するという保証はあるんですか
？Time.
無罪が証明されるならそれに越したことはありません。ですが、手違いやトラブルによって母に余計な刺激を与えてしまったらと思うと、とてもそんなリスクを冒す気にはなりません。
もし本当に大切に思っているのなら、一度その人の身になって考えてみるのはどうでしょ
う。どういう意味ですか？
Andy looks up at Artem, confused.
5年前にあなたが逮捕された後、誰もがあなたを罪人だと決めつけましたが、メアリーさんだけはあなたの冤罪を晴らそうとペアナ中の法律事務所を回っていたんです。彼女はあなたの無実を固く信じ、民衆から嫌がらせを受けても決して諦めませんでした。そんな彼女が望んでいることが、 あなたがただ帰ってくることだけだと思いますか？
Tears fill Andy's eyes. He is unable to answer the question, but Artem doesn't need an answer. He simply fixed his gaze on Andy. In that moment, it's as if they've been transported back to 5 years ago. The situation is almost the same.
きっとメアリーさんは今もあなたが真の自由を得ることを望んでいる。仮釈放などではなく、罪なき一人として帰ってきてほしいと願っているはずです。これは誇張ではありません。現に彼女は最初から最後まで私にあなたの冤罪を晴らすよう頼んでいましたから。メアリーさんが何を一番見たがっていたのか、今のあなたならもう分かっているのでは。
Every word resonates softly in the confined space. Andy lowers his eyes. His scarf hands tightly clasped, as if in prayer or in struggle. After a while, he looks up at the three of you.
一つお願いがあります。
What is it?
母の様子を見に行ってもらえませんか？今の具合を知りたいんです。
もちろん構いません。メアリーさんは今療養所にいて手厚い看護を受けています。もし近況を知りたいようでしたらいつでもお見舞いに行きましょう。
ありがとうございます。
Visiting hours are about to end. Andy rises from his seat, fixes his gaze on Artem, and makes a formal bow.
佐京先生、それでは改めて僕の弁護をお願いしてもよろしいでしょうか？
もちろんです。そのために来たのですから。
Taxi. After obtaining Andy's authorization, the three of you leave in a taxi. You still have a lot to do. First, you'll visit Mistress Marriott at the sanatorium. Artem loosens his collar, but his expression is far from relaxed. You hold his hand, searching for a topic to relieve his tension. Artem, do you think Mistress Marriott still remembers you?
忘れるとは思えないな。
Why? Artem smiles slyly as he looks at the letter of authorization in his hands, as if thinking back to his last meeting with Mistress Marriott 5 years ago. Coffee shop.
アンディさんの無罪を信じているのに、どうして依頼を取り下げたんですか？
いろんな人からアンディが無罪になるわけがないと言われてね。それにいつまでも意地を張ってるとその分刑が重くなるかもしれないと。
ですが、無実なら罪を認めるべきではありません。たとえどんな理由があったとしてもです。
佐京先生、あなたは負けたことがありますか？
Mistress Marriott picks up the coffee cup in front of her and takes a small sip of the black coffee, frowning at its bitterness. Autumn quietly pushes over the sugar and milk, but Mistress Marriott shakes her head.
もし負けたとしても先生にとっては一件の敗訴ですが、アンディにとってはより重い懲役刑になるんです。それでもこの件で必ず勝訴に持ち込めると断言できますか？
申し訳ありません。ご存知のように、どんな弁護士でもそのようなお約束はできません。
そうね。そうですよね。すみません、こんな意地悪なことを言ってしまって。
She smiles, concealing the look of sadness on her face.
困っていた時に手を差し伸べてくれてありがとう。でもごめんなさい。依頼はやっぱり取り下げます。
メアリーさん。
Taxi. Artem looks back at you, his eyes filled with regret about the past.
それ以来、私はずっと反省していた。あの時もう少ししっかり説得していれば、メアリーさんが依頼を取り下げることもなかったのではと。とはいえ、当時の私は配慮が足らず、依頼人の不安をさせてあげることができなかった。
Seeing how distressed Artem's feeling, you wrap your hands around his arm and lean onto his shoulder. Don't blame yourself, but then you didn't have that decisive piece of evidence that could prove Andy's innocence. As a lawyer, you can't give your client false hope beyond what reality permits.
私も理屈では理解しているが、どうも感情が言うことを聞いてくれなくてな。
Luckily, there's a chance to turn things around. Let's go meet Mrs. Marriott.
あ、
Later, the three of you met with Mrs. Marriott. Upon hearing the whole story, she immediately agrees to have Artem represent Andy once more. She even quotes a local idiom saying, "I'll see the day when Andy is released as an innocent man, even if I have to wait in the darkness of the grave." Over the next month, you and Artem work on Andy's case every day, seeking the fastest way to close it. On the street. Finally, on the first snowy day in Penaya this year, Andy is released, his name cleared after 5 years of imprisonment. Although Andy has already served half his sentence, having his name cleared is still different from parole or release from prison after serving the full sentence. From now on, Andy can live his life as an innocent man.
佐京先生、5年もの間、僕を信じて助けようとしてくださって、本当にありがとうございました。あの時は辛くて見ることもできませんでしたが、これまでに送り続けてくださった手紙も、ようやく開けることができました。
You knew Artem was following the case, but it never crossed your mind that he'd been writing to Andy for 5 years.
いえ、当然のことをしたまでです。
さすがですね。実を言うと、あれからずっと気になっていたんです。
何をですか？
もしもあの時、僕が依頼を断っていなかったら、先生は弁護を続けてくれていたのかと。
もちろんです。
確実に敗訴すると分かっていてもですか？
仮にそうなったとしても、真相を明らかにするまで証拠を集め直し、何度でも控訴を続けるだけです。
本当に先生にはいくらお礼を言っても足りませんね。
礼には及びませんよ。これから堂々と胸を張り、失った5年間を取り戻す勢いで暮らしていただければ、私はそれで満足です。
はい、そうさせていただきます。
Andy thanks you and Artem again before leaving with Mistress Marriott. With the case finally closed, you and Artem's trip to Penaya is also coming to an end. Let's return to the hotel.
そうだな。
Hotel. Upon returning to the hotel, you plan to book your flights before starting to pack. However, as soon as you open the booking app, Artem, who has just finished a phone call, reaches over and blocks the screen. Have you finished your call?
ああ。こちらの状況は、おおむね財前に伝えておいた。
It appears that the case has boosted Tammy's reputation in Penaya. A lawyer sticking around for 5 years to seek justice for their client. If you hadn't been here to witness it, you'd think this was a work of fiction.
ああ。今回の案件以降、テミスを選んでくれる依頼人が増えたのは確かだ。
Citizen must be very happy.
そうだな。随分と上機嫌な声で、急いで帰ってこなくてもいいと言われたよ。しかも、 私たちが社員旅行に行きそびれたことを気にして、その分の経費でシセニアにあるコテージを予約したらしい。数日はそこで休養してこい、だそうだ。
That's wonderful. Celestine is the best. Fine snow drifts in as you open the window, yet it doesn't feel particularly cold. The distant mountains are coated with a thin layer of snow, and in that direction lies the world-famous hot spring villa. Artem reaches out, a snowflake lands on his palm, melting instantaneously into a drop of water.
ちょうどこのくらいの雪の中で温泉に入るのが、シセニアの伝統的な風習らしいな。私たちも試してみるか？
Yeah, let's head off today. Snowy Woods. You and Artem depart from Penaya and arrive in Chesenia in the evening. Due to a blizzard, it's impossible to drive to the villa. Artem calls us off at the villa, discussing how the two of you can get there.
迎えに来てくれるそうだが、道が悪いせいで何時になるかわからないそうだ。
Does that mean we're trapped here?
そうなるな。外は風が強いから、ひとまず車に戻って待つとしよう。
He opens the door to the front passenger seat as he speaks, but you take out your bag and sling it over your shoulder. It's hardly your style to just sit and wait in the face of difficulty, Mr. Wayne. You grab his hand and shut the door with a thud. Why don't we try and walk there?
普通に歩いても30分はかかる距離を、雪が積もった状態で行くというのか？
It's not going to be longer than 5 years. You take a step forward, holding the umbrella, hearing a crisp sound as your foot sinks into the shallow snow. With one hand holding the umbrella, you flip through your phone, searching for the GPS when a strong gust of wind suddenly assails you. The wind sends the umbrella in your hand tumbling aside, almost causing you to tip over. Artem reacts swiftly, hurrying to steady you. That was strong. I thought it might actually blow me away.
そんなことはさせないさ。
He gently tightens his grip on your hand, his voice especially clear in the boundless silence. I believe you. Actually, there's something that I want to ask you.
どうした？
Is there another reason why Andy's case mattered so much to you? Upon hearing what you said, Artem tilts the umbrella a bit more to your side without giving you a specific answer.
今の質問をした時点で、君にはすでに心当たりがあるのだろう？先にそれを聞かせてくれないか？
I think it has something to do with your beliefs.
信念？
Yeah, the eternal pursuit of fairness and justice.
久々だな。そんな熱血弁護士のような評価を受けたのは。
That's because everyone at the firm sees you as that composed and stern lawyer with a ridiculously high winning rate. It's hard to associate you with the word idealistic. You believe in Andy's innocence, and you didn't give up even after he had compromised. You knew what you wanted right from the start, so you had been constantly searching for an opportunity for the last 5 years. Artem is not only a calm and stern lawyer with a high winning rate, he also has noble ideals and a sense of justice. These persistent acts are the most genuine testament to his dedication to a higher cause. I think I once read a phrase somewhere, but I only have a vague memory of it.
どんなだ？
It says that a person's high is influenced by their talent, effort, and opportunity, but only faith can determine their depth.
深さを決めるのは信念か。
At the moment, echoing your words, snowflakes drift past the two of you, yet standing under the umbrella, you both feel as though isolated from the world. Only the sound of your breathing and heartbeats is clear and discernible.
君の言う通りだ。私には確かに譲れない信念がある。仕事でも恋愛でも、一度決めたら目的地にたどり着くまで努力をやめないだろう。
After a while, Arthur speaks up again. You feel like you understand what he's saying, but not quite all of it. Feelings? You whisper in a low voice, confused. Artem tightens his grip on your hand slightly.
雪が弱まってきたな。今のうちに先を急ごう。それと、続きは温泉に入るまで待ってくれ。
You and Artem support each other, forging ahead. Amidst the snow, you can see the aurora in the night sky of Chechnya. After less than 20 minutes of walking, you spot a faint beam of light in the distance, seemingly emanating from the shuttle bus sent by the hot spring villa. A short while later, the bus stops a few paces away from you and Artem. A man in uniform jumps off from the bus.
すみません。左京様と弁護士様でしょうか。
そうです。
遅くなって申し訳ございませんでした。どうぞお乗りください。お部屋の方も温泉の方もすでに準備ができております。
Hot Spring Villa. After checking in, you and Artem finally enter the room, which feels warm and bright from the vigorous flame in the fireplace. You find yourself drawn to the scenery outside the window. In the snow-clad forest, white vapor is rising from the steaming hot spring. The strong wind subsided while your mind was elsewhere, and now only tiny crystal-like snowflakes continue to fall slowly from the sky. Artem, what do you say we visit the hot spring?
今からか？
Yeah, I thought you said it's a tradition in Chechnya to soak in the hot spring during light snow. I already can't wait to try it out.
だが、午後に出発してから何も食べていないだろう。先に食事を取らなくて平気か？
We can bring it there. Eating while soaking in a hot spring, that sounds quite relaxing. You haven't even reached the hot spring yet, but you can't wait to dive into your imagination. Seeing the smile in your eyes, Artem picks up the hot spring supplies next to him.
あ、では行くとしよう。
The open air hot spring, the aurora, the light snowfall, everything is just perfect. Holding hands, you and Artem step slowly into the hot spring. The warm, somewhat hot water stimulates your skin, sending shivers coursing through your body. But soon, the strange feeling subsides, replaced by the comfort of being wrapped in warmth. Leaning against Artem, you find yourself sighing softly as you gaze out at the boundless scenery. It feels so good.
そこまで気に入ってくれるとはな。もっと早くに君を連れてくるべきだったか。
It's okay, now is the perfect time. After wrapping up our busy and fulfilling work, what better reward could there be than to ease our fatigue by soaking in a hot spring? Artem, you said on our way here that you tell me everything I want to know in the hot spring. Well, can you tell me that now then? Artem gently squeezes your hand, his cheeks tinged with a slight flush. Is it from the steam, or could it be something else?
すでに気づいていると思っていたが。
Huh?
当然、私たちに関係していることだ。
His soft words blend seamlessly with the snowflakes drifting from the sky. Suddenly, you realize what he's alluding to. Before you and Artem officially met, your paths had once crossed. Back then, neither of you had realized the profound role you would come to play in each other's lives. Whether that brief encounter was a fleeting infatuation or a twist of fate could only be confirmed after the two of you officially made an appearance in each other's lives. What did Artem mean when he mentioned his persistence in his feelings? Was he determined to turn that romantic chance encounter into an inevitable relationship? Were you talking about us?
ああ。今さらあの頃の境地を振り返るというのも変な話だが。
No, it isn't. You hurry to turn and look at him, but he holds you in place with his hands conveying a warmth even softer than the spring water, skin to skin.
とにかく、当時の感情は形容しづらくて、何度も言葉にしようとしたが、考えれば考えるほど、雲をつかむような感覚に陥ってな。今にして思うとそれが、愛は知らずに深まっていく、というやつなのだろう。そして、それを自覚した頃にはもう、君しかいないと思っていた。
Artem.
以降は、恋愛心理学序論及び実践を読んだり、どんな花が好きかと遠回しに聞いてみたり。
From how you remember it, Artem asked you what kind of flowers you like after the two of you finished working on a case together. And the next day, a bouquet appeared on your desk. Did Artem? I'll have to admit, at the beginning, your courtship methods was indeed subtle, Mr. Wing. Seeing how awkward he looks, you can't help but tease him. Let's suppose, and remember, this is only supposing.
おう。
What if we hadn't ended up together? What would you have done? Taking a page from Andy's book, you put forward the supposition.
そんなことは考えたこともないな。
Artem blurts out immediately, but he seems to realize that the expression might be a bit inappropriate, so he pauses, appearing somewhat saddened.
だが、その時君のそばに誰かがいて、君が幸せそうに笑っていたら、私は遠くから見守る選択をするだろうな。
So, you wouldn't have told me?
そんなことをしても君を困らせるだけだろ。
Suddenly, you think of something Artem said to Andy. If you really love someone, you need to think about what her needs are. Of course, he'd put these words into practice. You mull over the thoughtful answer he's given, suddenly feeling your heart swell with emotion. Water splashes as you involuntarily press your body against his, drawing from his warmth. He pats you on the head, confused.
どうかしたのか？
Artem, nobody in the world makes me happy as you do.
ああ、わかってる。
Artem says almost fiercely. He pulls you into a tight embrace, the warmth of a lover's heart dispelling all the cold. Locking eyes with Artem, you tilt your head upward and kiss the corner of his lips. The wind blows, sweeping the snow from the crowns of the trees like a nighttime snowfall that will never end. Afterward, you and Arthur spend 2 more days relaxing in Jasenia before flying back to Stalif. Your work is falling behind due to the extended business trip. Each day feels so packed that you wish there were 48 hours in a day. Your residence. After a month, the two of you have finally finished dealing with all the work that had piled up. Glancing at the clear schedule, you feel as though you can finally lie in bed without a single burden weighing you down. Phew, finally, a weekend without working overtime.
ああ、そうだな。お疲れ様。
No, I only want to stay at home and rest right now.
そうか。なら、私もそうしよう。
Artem lies down beside you as he speaks. However, after only a few minutes with his eyes closed, his phone vibrates, showing an unknown international number.
お
Answer it. It might be a new case.
はい、左京です。
佐京先生、ご無沙汰しております。
To your surprise, the call is from Andy. He hasn't contacted you or Artem since you last parted ways.
アンディさん、お久しぶりです。新生活にはもう慣れましたか？
はい。福祉機関が新しい仕事を紹介してくれたおかげで、母も介護施設から退院し、一緒に暮らせるようになりました。
そうですか。うまくいっているようで安心しました。
すべてお二人のおかげです。本当にお世話になりました。
You and Artem exchange a smile.
弁護士として当然のことをしたまでです。
そうおっしゃると思っていました。これまでにいろんな弁護士の方とお会いしましたが、佐京先生は他の誰よりも正義感が強いですね。あ、申し訳ございません。もうすぐ母と散歩に出かけるので、今日はこのくらいで失礼します。
わかりました。また何かありましたらいつでもご連絡ください。
はい、ありがとうございます。
After hanging up, you and Artem suddenly realize that light snow is drifting down in Stalis. The two of you stand side by side in front of the French window, reminiscing about that snowy day in Chechnya. Time flies. Next time, you should find somewhere closer by for a hot spring trip.
もしもし、仕事は落ち着いたか？ああ、こちらもだ。軽い息抜きに外へ出てきた。ん？後ろが見えるか？あ、まさかステラ市の郊外にもリゾート地ができるとはな。シセニアとの違いは、自然を売りにした森と近いコンセプトだろうか。温泉の他に広い果樹園があって、フルーツ狩りができる。ただ、注意書きがあって、城内では時折、一部の温泉などで野生のお客様が訪れることがございます。ん？その顔。我慢しなくてもいい。私も見たとき笑いそうになった。他の施設？まだ見ていないから、二人でここへ来たときに一緒に探索しよう。じらしたいわけじゃない。ただ君とならハプニングを楽しめると思ってな。君と一緒にいることで、すべての偶然が奇跡に変わる。言いたいことが分かった？ああ、あの時のことだ。予想外の大雪が美しい景色に変わった。先のことは読めないが、一つ言えるのは、君と行く旅は、始まりから終わりまで、楽しみの連続だろうな。もし時間があるなら、これから一緒にドライブに行ってくれないか？1時間半くらいの間、車内で会話をして、音楽を聴いて、景色を楽しもう。うん、それでいい。すぐに迎えに行くから。 ああ、また後で。